Auctions, I think Mr. Sims had a question and asked that this be placed under attorney report. If there are particular questions, storage auctions, so that we're all familiar with it, are under a different statute. That statute provides a procedure by which someone who owns a storage company may foreclose literally on the objects inside the storage for failure to pay. That statute provides that should the payments not be made, that after certain notices are sent by the owner, that the individual items in the storage lockers may be sold by the owner. Owners of storage, this board has had this presented in the past and has made a determination that if it's the owner of the storage company, he may conduct an auction of that particular items in the storage, because at that point it becomes his property if he's gone through the process. If he uses someone other than himself, then, or the company, an employee of the company, then he must hire a licensed auctioneer. An unlicensed auctioneer or an individual cannot sell, as I understand the wishes of the board and in my legal opinion, cannot sell without a license unless it's the owner. And that's true of our statute. If you own property, it's not for the purpose of purchasing for ultimate sale, then you may also, auction your own items.
I have a question with reference to that. Because I asked that once before concerning that, and I thought it was the organization's discretion. They designate, because the owners may be quote unquote a corporation.
Right, they have an employee, they may do so.
Yeah, that they designate. And I just want to make clear, because I thought in some of the mom and pops, the individuals, but most of these big storages are corporations, quote unquote, are not tied to individuals. So they normally designate someone, managers or someone within their powers to conduct these things. So this would not apply. Outside of that would be that it has to be brought to an auctioneer. Most of the time they use the employees.
That's correct.
And I've gone to several of them, and I just kind of observed because I have an interest in it. But is there any violations that have transpired that this item would be on the agenda? Or just feel it? Okay, what I'm saying.
What happened was, we had a television crew come into Louisiana, an entertainment company, filmed some storage auctions in New Orleans with a California resident. It's not even a licensed auctioneer. There just happened to be not one, but two Texas auctioneers followed this bunch from Houston to New Orleans. As soon as they had the sale, they notified me, which I happen to know when in turn I notified them. By the time we got a hold of it, they done hightailed it. That's why it's on the agenda. You can have all the corporations you want, Freddie, and it's only a principle of that corporation, which is it's a limited partnership. It has to be a managing member or an officer of that corporation. The only ones can hold that auction. They can't run out there and point the floor sweeper to do the auction. They can't do that.
Well, is that correct, Ms. Allen? Because I've looked at the statutes and I've not seen that. I've seen that the corporations have the power to appoint.
It has to be a principal.
It has to be an employee. An
employee
employee can do it.
That's what it says.
But you can't hire somebody like that who comes over and basically, who's not an employee of the company, to do it without a license.
Yeah, because
that's been the opinion of the board up to this.
If that's the deal, we fix to go to the legislature, we fix to get this law tightened up, because it's going on all over the state. It's just not New Orleans now. They've been to Shreveport, they've been to Monroe, they've been to Alexandria, they've been to Lake Charles.
I understand your sentiments. I'm not arguing with your point.
Most of these guys that's got these storage units in North Louisiana, they do it themselves. I know several of them. We've all talked to them about putting them all together and doing them in a day or 2 days. They're not interested in it. They want to cut the locks. They get $25, $100, whatever's in the lock, that satisfies them. People get their stuff and leave. And they're doing it themselves. But when you bring in someone, like I'm talking about this TV deal, they brought in an actor. a paid actor. This guy got paid.
Was he employed? Or
He's not employed.
I mean, do we have to?
No, he was not an employee. He worked for the damn producing company.
No, I'm just saying, you know, did we verify that he was not employed to do that, or was an employee at that time to do that? I mean,
I'm not been asked to look at any.
Okay.
Well, we're just telling you what's going on.
yes, sir,
This is
I understand.
information.
No, I understand, I
The
appreciate it, that's what I
guy,
say.
the
I
guy
understand
was,
your
we know for a fact, the guy was a California resident.
We,
Resident, resided in California, came in with this movie production, television, whatever you wanna call it, company. And they came to New Orleans because they got some kind of, supposedly some kind of tax credit to go down and film this.
okay,
They brought this guy with them. Now, for your information, the law is chasing the guy that did the auction in Louisiana. The law is chasing him in the state of Nevada. Now, what's it chasing him for? I have no idea.
Okay.
Don't care. All I'm merely saying, watch what's going on in your territory.
listen, I respect
If you
that.
got somebody out there that you know that owns those storage facilities, go to them and talk to them. Make sure they know about it.
Yeah, I understand that. I was asking questions because I kind of.
That's
done a
what
lot
brought,
of
that's what
expense.
that's what brought it on the agenda, when the two auctioneers in Texas,
Yes,
which
sir.
are also licensed in Louisiana, brought it to our attention.
I've done a lot of extensive, research in that area with the companies, and I've talked to the corporate executives who dispense this down to regions, who sub it out to other auctioneers and things like that. But I've not found where, what your instances, what you said just then, I've never seen someone just come in from a Hollywood film industry and done that. Most of the time, it's always been people who are employees of that particular corporation and agency. So, I mean, you know, if that's the case, we'll be aware of it, but I know you said you were going to the legislature to try to tighten up the law on
We
this.
don't go to legislature with a whole package of stuff, it ain't just that.
Okay, I'm just saying, I don't disagree with what you're saying, if that's happening, that we need to put some teeth into what's going on. I'm just saying, I've not discovered that.
If
but I
you see
appreciate
storage wars on A&E,
Yeah,
that's the same thing, that's what they
Okay.
came in here and did.
All right. Well,
That's what it was.
okay, I understand where you're coming from.
Any other questions on that? Number 3, internet auctions.
I was also asked to look at this, as you all probably know, or maybe not, because most of you were not here at the time. There was a move some years back by eBay to change all of the state's laws to license auctioneers. In our case, our definitions were amended, and the definition of auction house was amended to read as follows. Auction house, auction company, and auction business shall not mean an entity which sells property through an internet-based trading platform unless such entity's activities constitute an auction as defined in paragraph 3 of this subsection. And auction as defined in paragraph 3 means the sale by competitive bid of any property which sale consists of a series of invitations for offers to purchase property made by the auctioneer and offers to purchase made by members of the audience culminating in the acceptance of the auctioneer of the highest or most favorable bid. We have interpreted that, again, if you have a live auction which is occurring online and someone's actually inviting bids and the responses are made at that time, then that would constitute an auction under our statute and a license would be required. If you are a timed auction, in which case the, somebody could bid for a week or 2 weeks and it's not an invitation to bid, it's simply people bidding online, which would be typically an eBay auction. It would be covered by this and we would not require a license under those circumstances.
What statute?
Yeah, this is 3103, A3, and 3.1 of our statutes.
All right, and that's it. And then-
Freddie, I'm responsible for this too. Since eBay's come along, there's been several other auction entities that have come up on TV, such as Score It,
Yeah.
Biz Quiz, Biz something. These people are charging each,
Percentage.
no, besides that, they are charging each time you make a bid. Each time you click that mouse button, you're paying the bid.
So I didn't know that. I mean, I went out and looked at it. I thought
Now,
it was
what
just
that percentage is, I do not know.
percentage of the total gross sales.
No, it's a percentage of your bid.
Yeah, I'm saying of the total sale.
No. If you bid 5 times on one item, so you started at $1, or some of them started at a penny, and you bid 4 more times, each of those times you're charged to bid.
If you're the winning bidder or just the bid?
Just
Bid,
bid.
Just to
Okay,
bid.
so I didn't get that.
Just
Okay.
to bid.
On scored. I looked at that. I was kind of fascinated, you know.
You
I'm
know,
not
everybody bids on, that's how they make their money.
Yeah. I thought it was the winning bid
You know,
that they.
it's every bid is placed. If you'll pay attention to the TV commercial, and I didn't catch this till 2 weeks ago, it says, each time you bid, you are charged a portion of that bid to bid.
And that's on scored, right?
That's on the score.
Okay, I'm gonna look at it again.
I mean,
'cause
that's fine,
looked
look
at
at all you want. The other one is diseased or something. Now, it works similar, but it's a little different. Each one of them's a little bit different, depends on what part of the country they're coming out of. But that's what that is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, I'm good.
Robert, you have a question?
Yeah, if they've disclosed those terms and people are willingly going on and clicking the mouse, I mean, it's a free country, you know, what's wrong with that?
Nothing, as long as you're in the free enterprise system, but I didn't agree with the way they came in here and did and I don't know whether you were on the board at the time, Robert.
You talking about the eBay?
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't, but Ms. Dow did.
But I can assure you this, the way eBay came in here and did that deal, it was a strong arm tactic.
You're right.
They got 5 people in the state senate and 5 people in the House of Representatives to push for it, and I'm ashamed to say every damn one of them was from my neck of the woods.
Well, to answer your
Me and
question,
Keith Babb wore Noble Ellington out one night.
to answer your question, I was not on the board. However, Ms. Dow, myself, Jim Towns, help me out. Who all was? Who was the newspaper reporter from the New York Times? I can't.
Katie Hafner.
We all went, and you are correct. And Alan Persick was there. I can't remember who all else was there.
There was a bunch of people there and they weren't allowed to speak.
Correct. Well, yeah. Well, you remember it. You know, everybody remembers. And that would be my question is, you aren't kidding. I mean, William Daniel told me, he was my representative at the time. He said, Robert, I'm going to tell you right now, anybody who stands in front of this train is going to get annihilated. And he said that before we went in, you know. Oh, he knew. Everybody knew. And it's about the only bill I've ever heard of that didn't get a single no vote in either the House or the Senate. So with that, what would make the prospects different this time to go in and do it?
Legislature's got a different atmosphere. Everybody now is consumer conscious, and I imagine the Louisiana Department of Revenue would love to collect their sales tax, all these jaybirds on them too.
All right.
Let me ask you a question. Are you pursuing something to do something about this, or are we just now discussing it? Are you gonna try to
It's
get
just
more
up for discussion. I'm gonna get Johnny Gwynn in here sometime, probably if I can get him at the January meeting to go over some of this stuff. I'm gonna also talk to, guy down at New Orleans that used to work in the legislature, used to write bills. He was one of the legal deals down there, wrote all the bills that went in the legislature. C.B. Ferguston. I'm gonna get C.B.'s advice on how to write this thing. He's pretty good at it. And we gotta go with the right package, with the right tone and the right attitude. We're probably not gonna be able to get back eBay, but the rest of them I hope we can block.
So you want to ask the board to take a stance and legislate or back legislation, or you trying to bring the board into a?
I'm just trying to inform you and bring you into the circle. We'll do this probably in January.
But I'm saying,
Because I don't think the
as a
legislature
board-
meets till June, do they?
But we have to pre-file any bills, would have to be pre-filed in January.
Yeah.
Is
So
it
we
that
need-
early?
Yes.
I thought it was 60 days prior to the session.
Yeah, but they start pre-filing fairly early, so we don't want to wait to the last minute.
And the session starts in March. I think you said June, but it starts in March.
March.
So we need to,
Well, then if that's the case, I'll make a motion that we explore the avenue of some type of legislation to regulate these internet auctions to some point, and the storage auctions too.
Okay.
do you have a second?
Well,
I'll second.
Robert?
Then can I ask?
Okay, let me ask
Well,
the board
yes,
members
yeah.
have a question first.
Sure.
And I'll go to the public. Anybody, board members have a question? Robert,
So are you
have a question?
specifically trying to undo everything that eBay did, or are you going to target the new, as I understand it, you have a problem with people who click and
I don't
pay?
think there's anything we can do with that train, as you call it, with
Well, that was
eBay.
William Daniels' words, but he was right.
I think we can probably do something with the rest of them.
Mhm.
Stop, or what are you trying to?
We're trying to regulate them, because what they're doing is not legal under our auction law. You don't charge a person every time a person bids on an item, or if we did that, we wouldn't have to work.
I agree with Robert, Vince, I hate to tell you.
I know,
But it's free America.
I know.
If you tell them up front and they won't charge you $100 every time you click, that's your
That's
problem.
your problem. Yeah, so does the board want to advance this? And I know we got a second already to
Well, that's why
attack this.
it's discussion. I see you, Sherry.
That's my question to the board. And do we want to advance this? And I understand where he's coming from, and I think he has a legitimate argument, but does it merit the board's efforts to try to undo something that is stacked so high? And then, you know, if it was something that was done undermining, but all of their information, their terms and conditions are open for the public to read, and they voluntarily go in. When they click on it, they know what they're doing. That's just like with the video poker and stuff like that. You know, when you put your money there, you bet it, that's your rights to do so. So if you have knowledge of it,
The key I said was to explore,
it's that's the thing.
explore legislation. I didn't say board back it, I said that's explore.
Yes, sir, I understood, I'm just saying, but, you know, having the knowledge of it already, should we give the consumer the rights to choice? That they have this free will to do so? If they want to click on that button, that's their choice? And
No, I mean, that's always going to be their choice. The question is whether there would be jurisdiction of this board to review the auction house or auctioneer handling. I don't know what the board wants to do. I can certainly provide some, proposed legislation, but I don't know without some idea as to what the point of the legislation should be.
Sherry, you have a question?
I just have a statement. Nobody hates more what eBay did than I did. I was one of the first ones that got hit by that train. But I'm just wondering how you would go about trying to legislate the other ones without throwing eBay back into the mix, because they're going to come to the aid of all of those other little up-and-coming businesses, even though it may be their competitors, just because that's what eBay does.
Well, eBay, Sherry, correct me if I'm wrong, but the seller pretty much guides that horse. Is that correct?
It does, but it guides that horse given eBay's guidelines and eBay's rules.
I understand.
So, if you want to sell on one of those other entities, they're setting forth the rule that says, hey, if you're selling something, every time the bidder bids, they're getting charged, and if you agree to that, how is that any different than agreeing to eBay's rules that says, you can only lose $150? We're going to only reimburse for $150 in losses.
Yeah. I'll see you, boy.
I wish you luck, and I'll stand behind you on it, but eBay's a big train.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll take a section of track out and let it derail.
are we gonna stay with the motion, or are you gonna rescind it, or you wanna still
Let the
explore?
board vote.
All right, I have any other questions? We're done? All right, I have a motion and a second. You want to do a roll call?
It's for both though, right? Storage and internet?
Excuse me?
It is for both.
It's the
Yes,
vote.
it's a motion to explore legislation to regulate storage auctions and internet auctions.
Did you want to break them out in case some people may want to go with one and not the other? Is that, okay.
All right, that's the motion and the second, and we're going to have a roll call vote.
Okay, Mr.
Call the roll, Sandy.
Mr. Bordelon?
Yes.
Mr. Brisker?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yes.
Mr. McMillan?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Sims?
Yes.
Ms. Stein?
Yes. Unanimous. Motion passed.
All right, I have